Good morning, everyone. This is another one of my solve videos, and this is one I've really been looking forward to. One of my favorite setters in the world is Ashish Kumar, and he has introduced me to a lot of phenomenal puzzles through his Patreon and through his ebooks, both called Enthralling Sudoku. This is one of the puzzles from his Enthralling Sudoku Volume 1 ebook, and I've got his permission to use this puzzle, so I can show it to you. And I will provide links to both his PayHip account where you can find this ebook, and to his Patreon account where every month, when it's active, he provides phenomenally good puzzles for people of all skill levels, to introduce you to both good classic techniques and to variants of different types of puzzles. And they're just excellent puzzles. So I'm really happy to cover one of Ashish's puzzles. One of the variants that he introduced me to, I encountered it the first time through this ebook, is Outside Sudoku. It is actually one of the puzzle types I've tried to set a few times, and because I fell in love with it from this. I did have solved this puzzle before, but it was about 10 months ago, so this is effectively a blind solve. I do not remember anything about this puzzle at all. But yeah, I really wanted to cover it. Ashish also has his own video solve channel, which he does with another solver, Kishore, called Unshackling Sudokus and Puzzles, which is I have learned so much from that channel, and I'll also provide links to that below. Not that I imagine anyone who is watching this does not know about his channel, because it is huge compared to mine, and I do not expect to grow this channel. Anyway, onto this puzzle. Outside Sudoku is one of my favorite constraints. It is quite a simple constraint, but I think it has some very interesting stuff built into it. In Outside Sudoku, the way it works is you have clues provided outside the grid, and those clues simply mean that, for example, looking at the 5, 6 here, it means that 5 and 6 must appear in those 3 cells. So when there is a clue provided outside the grid, then those will appear literally in those. They will not appear in these 6 boxes. 3 and 7 must appear there. 2 and 9 must appear there. Now in this puzzle, all of the clues are provided as 2. Some outside puzzles you will get 3 clues, so you know exactly what the triple will be. Sometimes you only get 1, but in this puzzle everything has been provided as 2s. And that's the whole rule set, apart from normal Sudoku rules apply. So with that, let's give this a look. Now, one of the interesting things we have with Outside Sudoku is, because you know that 3 must be in these 3 cells and 3 must be in these 3 cells, you can immediately go through and you can just place a 3. And we can do the same here with 6. This only really works in the corner boxes. We've got nothing in this box, and we can place a 1 here. Now, this does give us some extra constraints we can make. So, for example, we know 3 must be in one of those 2, but it can't be there because of that one. So we can now place the 3 here, which gives us 3 in one of those. 6 has to go into one of these 3, but it can't go in the middle one, so we've now got the position of 6. 6 has to appear in one of those 3, so we've got the same here. 6 has to appear in one of these 3, but we know in column 1 it's here, so that means we've got 6 in one of those 2. So it's a very, very good variant for just creating pointing pairs, which is very, very good for learning scanning techniques. We also have 8 in this box. So this gives us a 7, because we know 7 must be in one of these 2, but 7 in box 1 is in one of those 2. So this gives us a 7 down here, and this clue is now resolved. 9 is in one of those 2, We've got 1 in one of those two. And here's where we can use the same pointing thing without the digits in the grid. We know that 2 is in one of those 3, but 2 is also in one of those 3. So we can actually pencil mark 2 into 2 locations here. And we can do the same with 9. And we can do the same with 5. We can do the same with 1. I do not remember how hard this puzzle is. So it's possible that this is quite a tricky one, and I've picked one that I am going to struggle with. Which, you know, okay, yay. Oh, that's a 4, so that's a 6, so that is not a 6, so that's the 6. I'm sure anyone who was watching this video spotted this as soon as I was talking about the cross pairs in the corner boxes. I didn't. 8 is in one of those two. I normally wouldn't mark 3 across like that. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. So there's a couple of other ways that you can look at this. We know that 6 and 8 can't appear in those boxes. So we've actually got some eliminations in here. And the reason we know 6 and 8 can't appear here is because they must appear up here. So you can do the same across. So we know 7 isn't there, we know 7 isn't there, we know 7 isn't there. So we know 7 appears in those two cells. And I expect we're going to have to use some more of that. Should have woken up more before I recorded this video. 7 isn't there, 7 is in those. 1 is not in there. 1 is not in there, but it has to be in that. So this is a 1, this is a 7. We need to put a 2 in that row. So we've now got this down to 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9. The 8 must be there, and we've got a 5, 9 pair. That means 5 is in one of those two. Three is in one of those two. We already had the 9 restricted. This 8 is looking at this 8, so that's the 8 and that is not the 8. 7 is in one of those two, except that has to be the 8, so that's the 7. So this is done, 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 this is done. Do we know 7 is in one of those two now? So what are these for? They're 3, 4, 6 and 7. So that can't be 6 or 7, so that's 3 or 4. And that's 3, 4, 6. And it can't be 7. Two and 5. Okay. So 2 and 5 cannot appear in these cells. So what that means is 2 and 5 have to appear. No, wait. 2 and 5 have to appear here. So 2 and 5. cannot be in those cells. So 2 and 5 must appear in those 3 cells, because if they appeared here, they couldn't appear here. So this has to be a 2, 5, 9 triple without that being the 9. So that means this is a 3, 4, 6 triple without this being a 3. This has to be the 3 because we've got the 4, 6. So we've now got a 4, 6 pair. Row 1 is fairly constrained. I need 4, 5 and 9. I can't put 5, 9 there, so that becomes the 4. And again, that's because 5 and 9 have to be down here, so they can't be up here. And 5 has to be in those two, so that becomes the 9, that becomes the 5. And this is why I like Outside Sudoku. It just teaches really good scanning. And I missed this one. 5 has to be in those two, so that becomes the 9, that becomes the 5. 1 has to be in one of those two, because it can't be in those, because it must be down here. This is 1, 2, 7 and 9. So 1 and 2 has to be here, but it can't be there, so that's 1, that's 2. This becomes 7 and 9, but 9 has to be down here, so this becomes the 7 and this becomes the 9. So this is not a 1, but what we have left here is 4 and 5. 4 also has to be down here, so this becomes the 5 and this becomes the 4. This is now a known triple, which is a 1, 2, 3, except we have 1 and 2 that must be down here. So this becomes the 3 and this is a 1, 2. And one of the things that I like about this is, while this is not tricky, it's also not simple. And I'm a firm believer that not all puzzles have to be diabolically hard to be fun. I really enjoy puzzles that just flow well and allow you to find things that feel rewarding when you find them. So 2 is in one of those two. 9, that's a 2, 9 pair, because 2, 9 from up here is now pointing at that, so this becomes a 2, 9 pair. 2 is also in one of those, and 2 and 5 is also pointing down, so this becomes a 2, 5 pair. 4 is in one of those because we've got the 4 pointing across. And I'm now wondering what I am missing. Often with Outside Sudoku, you feel like the middle box is the one with the least information, but ignoring it can be a mistake, but I'm not seeing. This can't be 1, 2, 3. It can be 4, 6, 7, or 8. So it's not that restricted. Sometimes there is a hidden single in a center box of an Outside Sudoku that you just don't notice, particularly if, and it's not the case in this puzzle, but particularly if you've got clues on either side that line up. This puzzle does not have that, but if that's the case, then it does force restrictions in boxes on the other side. This puzzle has obviously been deliberately designed that the clues are all offset to make it just a little bit more challenging, which is why I picked it. So these are... So 1 is in one of those two. 4 is in one of those two. 5 is in one of those two, because 5 can't be there because of that 5. 5 can't be here because of that 5, and this is filled. So 5 is one of these, and this is a 1, 3, 4, 5, 7 quintuple. So what we're missing from this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. And 6 must be over here. So this is an 8, this is a 6. Now because this is a quintuple and there's only single digits in there, this must be a 1, this must be a 4. And what we have is we've got 3, 5 as a possibility in there, 3, 7 as a possibility in there, and 5, 7 as a possibility in there. And those can be a little bit tricky to spot, but when you've only got 5 cells filled and 5 pair candidates, that's a really interesting thing to look for in any Sudoku variant. Now 3, 5, and 7 is now a triple here, which means this is a 4, this is a 6, this is a 4. That 6 forces the 6 into there and not into there. This is now a known pair, but we've now got the 5 here. And this must be 3, 7. Yep, that looks correct. One is in one of those. This is no longer a 5. So these are 1, 2, and 9. And we've got a 2, 9 pair looking at that. So that's a 1, that's a 2, 9 pair. So these, there's a triple here, which is 2, 8, and 9. So this is, and again, 2, 9. This has to be the 8, and this is not the 8, so we've got a 2, 9 pair. So this is now known, because we've got a triple here and a triple here. So this has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 1, 6, 8. There is a 6, 8 looking down at that, making that a 1. Locking in the 2, locking in the 1. There is no 1 in either of these. I was looking down here at these clues to see if that would resolve the 6, 8, but it doesn't. I really like the flow on this puzzle. It's just really, really pleasurable to solve. So this is quite restricted. I need 2, 3, 7, and 9. This can't be a 3 or a 2 because 2 must go down here. This can't be a 2. This can't be a 9 because of this, and it can't be a 7. So that's a 3, 7, 9 triple. So that becomes the 2. And I could have seen that by saying 2 was there, 2 was there, 2 was there, 2 was there. I had 4 2s pointing into that box. And this is what I mean by in Outside Sudoku, you can get a lot of restriction in the middle box that isn't as obvious. I've kind of got the same here. 5 is there, 5 is there, 5 must be there, but we've got 5 there and 5 there, so that just locks in as a 5. So we've now got a quadruple in the middle, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9. So this is 3, 4, 7, and 9. That can't be a 4, so we've now got the 3, 7, 9 triple, so that becomes the 4. 2, 9 takes 9 out of there. 7 means that that's the 3. There is no 3, 7, 9 pair. That's a 3. That's a 7. Pardon me. Oh, no, I was jumping the gun a bit there. I like how this one's not just falling apart. Or if it is, I'm missing it, which is just as fun. 1, 2, so this needs 3, 4, 7 and 9. So that can't be 3 or 4, which gives us a 7, 9 pair, which means I can take 7 and 9 out of those. So this gives me a 3, 4. Which again, I could have seen if I'd seen that. This is 4, no, 4 is there, 5, 6, 8 and 9. So we've got 5, 6, but that's not a pair because of the 6 there, 8 and 9. I am almost certainly missing something blindingly obvious here. 7 is done, 2, 9 is done, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 8, 9. I get the feeling I'm done with the outside clues and now I'm just missing basic scanning. So 2, 5, 7, 8, 9. Where does 8 go in this column? Can't go in either of those, can't go in either of those because that's a 2, 5 pair, so that becomes an 8, takes 8 out of there. So this is 2, 5, 7 and 9, so it's 2, 5 and 9. It can't be 2 and 5 because there's a 2, 5 in the box. It becomes a 9, that becomes a 2, that becomes a 5, that becomes a 2, that becomes a 7, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 5, that becomes a 9. Not in this column now is 3 and 6, so that's a 3, 6 pair. Not seeing immediately how to resolve this, but this is now a known triple. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not jumping out at me. Hmm. 2, 5, 2, 9, 3, 7. Yeah, I think I need to stop looking at outside clues. I think they're done. Nope. So 8, 8. So 8 can only be in those two, but that's fine. So what have we got here? We can go 1, we can go 2, we can go 6, 7, 8, I really think I'm missing something simple here. So 1 is there and there. 2, 3 is in those two and those two. 4, those two and those two. 5 is in those two and those two. 6, yep, 7, those 3, those 2 and those 2. 8 is in those 2 and those 2. 9, that 9, that took me way too long to see. So that's not 7, that's 1, that's 4, that's 7. I normally try not to be that dependent on the cell highlighting that the software provides, but I didn't want everyone just staring at me, staring at a grid for so long. So that's a 2, that's a 1, that's an 8, that's a 9, that's a 6, that's an 8, that's a 9, that's a 5, that's a 2, that's a 9, and that's a 2. So that's how you solve an outside Sudoku, and in particular this outside Sudoku. This is the 5th outside Sudoku from Ashish Kumar's Enthralling Sudoku Volume 1. So his Volume 1 book, which I think was $7, I'm not exactly sure, but it was around that price. It was not very expensive, and it came with, I think it was 30 classic puzzles and then 12 each of a number of variants in it. But it came out to be, I think it was 120 or 130 puzzles for like $7, and they were all puzzles of this level of quality, and they are just very, very good puzzles, and I cannot recommend the ebook highly enough. I hope you enjoyed watching this solve of a puzzle, and it's mostly as a demonstration of how Outside Sudoku works and as my recommendation for Ashish Kumar's puzzles. Thank you very much for watching.